Welcome to our gala in which we are celebrating marriage. We Legionaries of Christ, consecrated women and Reigning Christian members supporting this institution, which is the core of our society, in which we celebrate the mystery of God's love for us. 6 couples will be sharing different elements that make it so beautiful.
Let's start.
Go for it.
So we have realized that it's extremely important to anything we say that make it come along with some sign that we care. Whether it's tapping on the shoulder, whether it's saying something nice about the other, complimentary about the other person, or bringing a cup of coffee, a cafecito.
At 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
And just every conversation, if it's embedded in acts of charity, that changes the tone and has a big impact.
And on my part, it's always important to know that I hold the key to Francisco's heart and he holds the key to mine. And those acts of charity really help to soften and open the other person's heart. Because we're not meant to avoid suffering in our lives, right? We're both meant to go through it together as a married couple. And I think those acts of charity and those acts of kindness help kind of buffet our marriage against the strong winds of difficulty, right?
And in the counseling I've done or help with marriages, many times it's encouraging faithfulness through difficulty. Every marriage has difficulty, every vocation has difficulty, but with the help of God's grace, we can overcome and persevere, and with His grace, be faithful until death.
When we differ in opinion, and it happens a lot, I mean, we're 2 different people and we have 2 different frames of reference and ways we grew up and so forth. But I know that on the major issues, on any issue, but when it comes to a major issue where we disagree with how to move forward, that he is in here on his knees every morning, and he's not trying to solve the problem on his own.
Well, I think that part of we're talking about compromise, and I think the key part to compromise is discernment, right? Just really thinking it through and making a thoughtful decision, and they really are helpful in us in discerning, right? Helping us talk through, think through, pray through the different options. And I know, as Monica shared, when we were considering moving here, I was further down the road than she was, but I know through her spiritual direction, she got great advice really in helping her discern the decision. The decision was hers, but her spiritual director really helped her look at it from every angle and really fully discern that choice.
Even though we've been married for 35 years, we're still learning more and more about being intimate with one another, about revealing ourselves to each other.
Both Rosemary and I, we want to be known by the other, but we also want to know the other person. But many times in that process, we share our ugly sides, our broken sides. The fear is we may not be received. And so I think that's the beauty, but also the challenge of intimacy.
So we combat this feeling of wanting to hide ourselves or trying to foster intimacy through some really little ways in our daily life. The small things like sharing our day with one another, going for walks together, holding hands, to me is sometimes just the most precious thing in our relationship. And it helps develop that feeling of belonging and that feeling of connectedness.
One of the most important things we can do, and we are doing here in Atlanta, is the accompaniment, the empathetic listening to these married couples who are trying to live faithful to Christ and the gospel in their marriages and families.
But one of the things I think helps for us a lot is you might have something that you are, not on the same page about, but you should try to do everything else very, very well, right? So maybe we're having a dispute about our kids or about our family, but let's try to do the dishes as good as we can for each other. Let's try to make the bed as good as we can for each other. Let's still try to enjoy a date night or spend quality time praying together.
Yeah, and the realization that it is one issue that you're working at, not to amplify it as, something more than it is, when you see all the other good that is coming, the fruits of the marriage, it is just one, it helps you keep it in perspective. To this day, we continue to help with 3 to Get Married because we thought it was such a beautiful program. So I think very early on, Regnum Christi was a blessing in our marriage.
To any couple that is struggling out there, what I like to say is believe in the sacrament of marriage. Believe that just as Christ is truly present in the Eucharist, just as he's truly present when we go and tell him our sins in the sacrament of confession, Christ is truly present in the sacrament of marriage. And so his strength, his love is stronger than any difficulty, any doubt, any selfishness, any hurt. And when Christ is present, there's always hope.
So we did struggle to maintain that togetherness, that unity. I was too deep in my business out of fear that I wouldn't succeed. And now looking back, we know that that's a pitfall for young married couples to fall into. Me with my business and Martha hyper-focused on raising 8 kids, we lost a little bit of that togetherness that we enjoyed so much in the early phase.
And I would say that it was absolutely the grace of God that kept us together. We both were committed to the marriage, no matter what. And that was not a matter of discussion. So that really held us together to go through the difficult times, definitely.
There's always the depth of marriage that takes, really the 3 to make it work. I work with the wife, with the mother, but definitely it works for the whole family. And I think that's a beautiful gift in Regnum Christi, because we are a family and we experience that. So I say I benefit so much from hearing and listening and praying with and for families, and with the wives. It's a privilege, I consider it.
I believe the appreciation is generally shown in the way of affirmation, which is very important for both of us. And whether it's, in my case, appreciating and being affirmed for working with Judy, supporting her during her cancer treatment, or washing the dishes for that matter. The affirmation I receive is very important to my self-worth and dignity. So I think affirmation is really a key part of our showing appreciation for one another.
Mm-hmm. I admire Bill's gentleness and his humility. I admire his honesty.
First is Judy's relentless and fearless desire to spread the gospel to everyone, and I mean everyone.
One of the things we try to offer through Family Life is to create a community of couples that can help each other. The friendship among couples is so important, and I think that's also the huge gift of Regnum Christi, is to bring couples together, to bring this friendship. And when I try to organize a marriage retreat or offer the different activities, we work alongside with the couples so that we can have couples evangelizing to other couples.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for the efforts that you make. Each one of you, despite the difficulties that you may have in your marriage, is a witness of God's love as you persevere and you continue the road towards salvation. Together we build the kingdom and we bring God to others.